Clear out of that room. No warning, no hesitation, just a decision already made. I was standing in the doorway when my father said it, like I was the one interrupting something that belonged to him. Behind him, my brother dragged 2 suitcases across the floor, wheels bumping over the wood I had installed myself. And right behind him was his wife. Pregnant. Quiet. Watching everything like she was already measuring the space. Her eyes moved slowly across the room. My bed, my desk, the shelves I built on weekends, the walls I painted after work. Every corner of that room had my fingerprints on it. Then she said it. It would be better if you just left the house. Not angry, not emotional, just casual. Like she was suggesting we move a chair. My father nodded once, like that settled it. My mother didn't even look up. And just like that, the room wasn't mine anymore. I didn't argue. Not because I agreed, but because something about the moment told me arguing wouldn't change anything. It had already been decided. So I packed. 3 boxes. That's all it took to pack 4 years of my life out of a house that had my name, only my name, on the deed. I remember holding the last box at the doorway, looking back at the room one more time. Not to memorize it, just to understand how fast something can stop being yours, even when it legally still is. That night, my phone rang. It was Lauren, my brother's wife. Her voice wasn't calm anymore. "Jasmine, this isn't real, right?" she whispered. I didn't answer, because deep down, I knew something she didn't yet. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was just the beginning. My name is Jasmine Webb. I'm 29, a licensed civil engineer in Texas. And for 4 years, I paid for a house that I slowly disappeared inside. I bought that house when I was 25. 2 stories, 3 bedrooms, half-finished basement. More space than I needed, but not more than I thought I'd use. Because at the time, my parents had just sold their mobile home. They didn't have anywhere else to go. So I made space. No lease, no contract, just trust. They moved in the following week. My mother brought boxes of old things she refused to throw away. My father brought his recliner and expectations that didn't need to be said out loud. At first, it felt like the right thing, like building something, like finally being the one who could take care of everyone. The arrangement was simple. They would help with utilities. We would live together. Family. That was the word we used. But the reality looked different. They never paid a single bill, not once. Electricity, water, groceries, internet, everything came out of my account, month after month. And I didn't complain, because every time I thought about saying something, I told myself the same thing. This is temporary. This is what family does. My brother, Ethan, didn't live with us at the time, but somehow he was always at the center of everything. My father talked about him like he was building something big, like he just needed time, like success was right around the corner. I remember the day Ethan finally finished community college. There was a backyard party. Banners, food, guests. "Proud of you, son." That's what the sign said. When I graduated with honors in engineering, my father sent a text. "Good for you, kid." No call, no dinner, no celebration. Just 4 words. I didn't say anything. I just kept working, kept paying, kept fixing things. The roof when it leaked, the yard when it got out of control. Even the basement, he said it was too cold, so I installed a heating system myself. I told myself it mattered, that eventually they would see it, that eventually it would feel like mine. But it never did. Because in that house, there was a rule nobody said out loud, but everyone followed. Ethan was the future. I was the one holding everything together. My neighbor once asked me something. I was on a ladder, repainting part of the exterior, and she leaned over the fence and said, "Where's your family when you're up there?" I smiled and said, "Inside." That's kind of the point. She didn't smile back. She just looked at me in a way I didn't understand at the time. Now I do. A few days before everything changed, Ethan called me. His voice had that familiar tone, too upbeat, too smooth. The kind he only used when he needed something. "I'm coming home," he said, "and I'm not coming alone." When they showed up, my father was already prepared. Furniture had been moved, space had been cleared, plans had been made, just not with me. And somehow, in less than 10 minutes, I went from homeowner to someone being asked to leave. I told myself it was temporary, a week, maybe 2, that's what he said, just until things settle. So I moved into the basement, the same basement I had spent thousands fixing. Concrete walls, one dim light, a mattress on the floor, no frame, no door. The first night, I barely slept. The air felt damp. There was a slow drip somewhere in the corner. Steady, annoying, impossible to ignore. Upstairs, I could hear them moving around, laughing, living. By the third night, the pipe shifted. Not enough to break, just enough. I woke up soaked, cold water spreading through the mattress, my back pressed into it, staring up at the ceiling, bare floor. And that's when the thought hit me. Clear, unavoidable. I was paying thousands every month to sleep in water under my own house. The next morning, I went upstairs. Lauren was already in the kitchen, using my coffee machine, sitting like she belonged there. She glanced at me and said, "Oh, you're still here?" That was the moment something inside me shifted. Not loudly, not dramatically, just quietly, like a line being drawn. Because a few days later, I was going to find out something that made all of this look small. And once I saw it, there was no going back. I was sitting in my car, engine off, staring at nothing. That line I felt inside me that morning, it hadn't gone away. It just sat there, quiet, waiting. Then my phone buzzed. I almost ignored it. Just another notification, another bill, another reminder of something I was responsible for. But this one didn't look normal. It came from my credit monitoring app. I opened it. New lien detected. For a second, my brain didn't process it. Then I saw the address. My house. I frowned and tapped into the details, expecting some kind of system error. Something delayed. Something routine. It wasn't. $110,000 filed against my property. My name listed as the borrower. I went very still. Not panic, not yet, just still. I scrolled down to the document preview and opened the signature page. At first glance, it looked like mine. Close enough that someone who didn't know me wouldn't question it. But I knew. Something about it felt off. The spacing, the way the letters connected, the middle initial. It wasn't how I wrote my name. Not exactly. And that tiny difference was enough. A cold feeling settled in my chest. I called the bank immediately. It took 3 transfers before someone finally gave me a straight answer. "Yes, ma'am. The loan was processed about 3 months ago." "Processed how?" I asked. "Through a family representative," he said. Family. The word landed wrong. "Who signed for it?" I asked. There was a pause. Then, "The documentation shows your signature and a witness, Deborah Webb." My mother. I didn't say anything for a few seconds. I just sat there, gripping the steering wheel so tight my hands started to shake. Not fear, anger. The kind that doesn't explode right away. The kind that locks everything in place. "Send me everything," I said. That night, I didn't go home. I couldn't. I sat in a small fast food place off the highway, a cup of coffee in front of me that I never touched. I grabbed a napkin and drew a line down the middle. Left side. What I lose if I fight. Right side. What I lose if I don't. The left side filled quickly. My parents, whatever was left of that relationship. Extended family. Holidays. The version of home I had been holding on to, even if it wasn't real anymore. And Lauren, pregnant. Anything I did would be turned into something ugly. I could already hear it. Selfish, heartless, ungrateful. I stared at that side for a long time. Then I looked at the right side. $110,000 tied to my name. My credit destroyed. My future locked behind a lie I didn't create. And something worse than all of that. The certainty that if I let this go, they would do it again. I didn't need to think about it any longer. I crushed the napkin in my hand. Decision made. The next morning, I called a lawyer. Her name was Rachel Whitmore. She didn't interrupt me once while I explained everything. When I finished, there was a short pause. Then she said, very calmly, "You're dealing with forgery and possibly fraud." Hearing it out loud made it real in a way I couldn't ignore anymore. "What do I do?" I asked. "You stop talking to them," she said. "Immediately. And you let me handle the rest." Within 2 days, she had the documents, all of them. I sat across from her in her office while she laid everything out on the table. Page by page. My signature, or something pretending to be it. My mother's name as a witness. And then the breakdown. Where the money went. $45,000. Gone to Ethan's credit cards. Completely wiped. $25,000. A payment to a dealership. $18,000. Withdrawn in cash. And the rest? Sitting in my father's account. Like a safety net. Built with my name. I stared at the numbers. Not because I didn't understand them, but because I did. Every dollar had a destination. Every decision had been intentional. This wasn't desperation. This was planning. Rachel tapped the document lightly. "They thought they could get away with it," she said. "They picked the wrong asset to use." I let out a slow breath. "So what happens now?" She looked at me for a moment, then asked, "When are you leaving?" That question surprised me. "I already left," I said. "Good," she replied. "Then we move forward." 3 days later, I signed a lease for a small apartment. Quiet, clean, mine. Packing didn't take long. It never does when you realize how little of your life actually belongs to you. Before I walked out for the last time, I left something behind. An envelope. Inside it, a copy of the deed. My name highlighted. And one sentence. "This house is mine. Everything else is about to change." I closed the door and walked away without looking back. That night, my father found the envelope. I didn't need to be there to know what he said. "She's bluffing." I let him believe that. Because what he didn't know was, the clock had already started. The house didn't fall apart after I left. It got better. At least, that's what it looked like from the outside. Lauren started posting photos almost immediately. New decorations, rearranged furniture, soft lighting. Everything looked warm, curated, like something out of a home magazine. "Finally feels like home," one caption said. I stared at that sentence longer than I should have, because I knew exactly what had been moved to make that happen. They didn't hesitate. They didn't even pause. They just stepped into the space like it had always been theirs. Meanwhile, my father was busy telling a different story, his version. I started getting messages within a couple of days. Family members I hadn't heard from in years suddenly had opinions. "You needed space? That's understandable. Your parents are worried about you. Family should stick together." Every message sounded the same, soft, concerned, completely wrong. No one mentioned the basement, no one mentioned the room, and definitely no one mentioned the loan. Because in his version, none of that existed. I didn't argue. I didn't correct them. Rachel had been very clear about that. "Let the truth come out when it matters," she told me. So I stayed quiet and kept building the case. The paperwork moved fast, faster than I expected. Fraud reports, credit disputes, formal requests, everything documented, everything time-stamped, everything organized. It didn't feel like revenge. It felt like construction. like I was rebuilding something that had been quietly taken apart piece by piece. Then came the notices, printed, signed, ready. 4 names, each one of them listed clearly. 30 days. That was the law, and Rachel didn't miss details. The delivery date was set carefully, not randomly, not conveniently, strategically, the same day as my father's event. He had invited people over, a lot of people. I didn't know all the details yet. I didn't need to. Rachel just looked at me and said, "Trust the timing." So I did. Back at the house, things were starting to crack. Not loudly, just enough. Small things first. The thermostat stopped working properly. Something minor, something I had fixed more than once without thinking. But now, there was no one there who knew how. They called a service company. The quote came back high, too high. Then the next bill arrived, and the next. Everything that had quietly been handled before was now visible, heavy, unavoidable. My phone rang late one afternoon. I already knew who it was before I picked up. "When are you coming back?" my father asked. Not hello, not how are you. "When are you coming back?" I leaned back in my chair and closed my eyes for a second. "I'm not," I said. There was a pause. "The house needs you," he added. That sentence settled in. Not "we need you," the house. Like I was part of the system. Like I was something that kept things running, replaceable, invisible. "I've already started transferring everything out of my name," I said calmly. "You should contact the companies directly." Silence. Longer this time. Then the call ended. No goodbye. That night, Lauren texted me. "This is really bad timing. I'm due soon." I read it twice, not because I didn't understand, but because of how familiar it sounded. Everything was always about timing, about inconvenience, about how my decisions affected them, never the other way around. I didn't reply. Some messages don't deserve energy. My mother called the next morning. Her voice was softer than usual, careful. "Your father is struggling," she said. "His health isn't good. You know he can't manage things alone." I listened, didn't interrupt. Then I said, "I managed everything alone for years." She hesitated. "That's different." "Is it?" I asked. Another pause. Then I said it. Calm. Clear. "The loan. Do you want to talk about that?" Everything stopped. Not slowly, instantly. The emotion in her voice disappeared, replaced by something else. "You're going to destroy this family," she said quietly. I looked at the wall in front of me, the blank white paint, the silence of my own space. "It was already broken," I said. She hung up. That night, I sat at my table with the documents spread out in front of me. 2 signatures, side by side, one real, one pretending. I stared at them longer than I expected, long enough for doubt to try and creep in. Maybe I was being too harsh. Maybe there was a version of this where no one lost everything. Maybe there was still something worth saving. Then my eyes moved to the witness line, my mother's handwriting. Familiar, the same style she used on birthday cards, on notes, on everything. And something inside me settled. Not anger, not sadness. Clarity. A few days later, someone knocked on my door. Hard. 3 times. I didn't open it right away. I checked the camera first. Ethan. He looked different. Not calm. Not confident. Tight. Controlled in a way that didn't feel natural. I opened the door. "What are you doing?" he snapped immediately. "You're trying to kick us out?" "I'm enforcing my rights," I said. He let out a short laugh. "That's what this is about? Paperwork?" "That paperwork is ownership," I replied. "And what you did crosses a line you can't talk your way out of." His expression changed. Not guilt, something else. Calculation. Look, he said, lowering his voice. We can figure this out. Lauren's pregnant. You can't do this right now. I'm not doing anything to her, I said. I'm fixing what you did. His jaw tightened. If you go through with this, he said slowly, don't expect to be part of this family anymore. The words hung there. Heavy, deliberate, a threat. I held his gaze. That's your choice, I said, not mine. He stood there for another second, then turned and walked away. Hard steps, sharp movements, anger with nowhere to go. The camera recorded everything, every word, every tone, every detail. Rachel would have it the next morning. Within 2 days, the calls got worse, not from him, from everyone else. My father had already reached them, all of them, relatives, old contacts, people who only knew one side. The messages weren't loud, they were controlled, which made them worse. Think about what you're doing. This isn't like you. You're hurting people. I tried explaining once, just once. The loan, the signatures, the money. The response was immediate. That doesn't sound right. He would never do that. And that was it. Years of reputation, years of image, outweighing everything I had in my hands. Evidence didn't matter. Not yet. I called Rachel. They're turning everyone against me, I said. She didn't sound surprised. Good, she replied. I blinked. What? Let them, she said. You don't fight stories with more stories. You wait until you have a stage. A stage. The word stayed with me. When? I asked. She glanced at her calendar. The day of the gathering, she said. That's when it ends. I felt my chest tighten slightly. That's in a few days. Then we prepare, she said. 2 days later, she called me into her office again. This time, the document waiting on the table looked different. Official. Cold. Final. She turned it toward me. I read the first few lines, then the next, and then the part that mattered. The bank had reviewed the documents. The signature didn't match. The loan was under investigation. Suspended. Not gone. Not yet. But stopped. Contained. I exhaled slowly. For the first time in days, something loosened. They made a mistake, Rachel said. And now the bank knows it. I nodded, but my mind was already somewhere else. The house, the people inside it, the story they thought they controlled. Rachel tapped the table lightly. We're still on schedule, she said. I looked at her. What happens next? She met my eyes. We make sure everyone hears the truth. And suddenly, for the first time, I understood exactly how this was going to end. The papers were served on a Wednesday afternoon. I wasn't there when it happened, but I could picture it too clearly anyway. A knock at the door, my father opening it with that irritated look he always got when someone interrupted him at home. Then the envelope in his hand. His name on one notice, my mother's on another. Ethan's, Lauren's, 30 days to leave. No debate, no family meeting, no pretending anymore. Rachel sent me the confirmation not long after. Served successfully. A few minutes later, my phone rang. I answered on the second ring. His voice hit me before the words did. Not loud, not commanding, unsteady. You're really doing this? I didn't ask what he meant. You used my name to take out a 6-figure loan, I said. You knew exactly what you were doing. It was for the family. No, I said. It was for Ethan. Silence. Then I heard his breathing change. The kind of silence where somebody realizes their usual script is not working. You would throw your own parents out? I looked down at the file on my kitchen table. Every transfer, every signature, every page. You had no problem pushing me out of my own room, I said. You'll have 30 days. He hung up on me. Ethan called right after. He didn't bother pretending to stay calm. "Have you lost your mind?" he shouted. "Lauren is weeks away from giving birth. Where exactly do you think we're supposed to go?" "That stopped being my problem when you helped forge my name," I said. He swore under his breath. Then he said, "You're going to regret this." Maybe he expected me to argue. Maybe he expected me to cry. Instead, I said, "Start packing." Then I ended the call. 2 days later, my father still hadn't canceled the event. That told me everything. He actually believed he could stand in my yard, smile for people, feed them cake, and somehow hold the lie together through pure force of personality. By Sunday afternoon, the whole place was dressed up. Tables in the backyard, chairs lined up, pink and white decorations tied everywhere, food laid out, a cake in the center. Lauren in a maternity dress, posed like the guest of honor in a life she thought had already been secured. People kept arriving, relatives, neighbors, co-workers, friends, a full crowd. Exactly what Rachel wanted. Exactly what he deserved. I sat in my car 2 houses down with the folder in my lap. The engine was off. The air inside felt still and warm. I could hear my heartbeat in my ears, but my hands were steady. That mattered to me. I checked the folder one more time. Certified deed, signature comparison, bank letter, transaction records. Everything organized in tabs. Clean, precise, impossible to explain away. I looked at myself in the mirror. Gray blazer, white blouse, hair pulled back. I didn't look like someone coming to a family celebration. I looked like someone arriving with proof. And that was the point. When I stepped out of the car, I didn't rush. I walked. Each house closer made the noise sharper. Laughter. Conversation, music, dishes clinking. The normal sounds of a happy gathering. The kind that almost made what I knew feel unreal. Almost. Then my father saw me. He was standing near the porch talking to someone, and the moment his eyes landed on me, his whole face changed. Not confusion. Fear. That was the first honest expression I'd seen on him in weeks. He came toward me fast. "What are you doing here?" he hissed. I kept walking. "I'm standing on my property." "Not today," he said. "Not like this." I stopped near the porch. "Then how would you prefer it?" I asked. "Quietly? Off to the side? So you can keep lying?" His hand closed around my arm. Not hard enough to bruise, hard enough to direct. "Lower your voice." Before I could answer, another voice cut in. "Take your hand off her." We both turned. Margaret Collins stood a few feet away, holding a plastic cup, her expression flat and steady. She wasn't guessing. She knew exactly what she was seeing. My father let go immediately. That was enough to make people look over. One head turned, then another, then all of them. Lauren appeared in the doorway carrying tissue paper and a gift bag. She saw me and froze. Ethan straightened from where he'd been standing beside her. Everything went quiet, in that strange way groups do when nobody has announced silence, but everyone feels it coming. I stepped onto the porch, not because I wanted attention, because I wanted everyone to see me clearly. "My father told most of you I moved out because I wanted independence," I said. No one interrupted. I opened the folder. "That's not what happened." My father took a step forward. "Jasmine, enough." I didn't even look at him. "This house is mine. I bought it myself. I made every payment myself. No one here helped me carry that mortgage." I held up the deed first, then the signature comparison. Several weeks ago, I found out a loan had been taken against my property using my identity. A murmur moved through the yard. I lifted the second document. This is my real signature. This is the one used on the loan file. They do not match. The bank confirmed that in writing. I heard someone set a plate down. Someone else whisper, "What?" I kept going. My mother signed as witness. I pulled the transaction sheet from the folder. And the money was not used for the house. It was split. Now I looked directly at Ethan. $45,000 to wipe out my brother's debt. Then toward the driveway. $25,000 for a vehicle payment. Then back toward the house. $18,000 taken out in cash. And finally at my father. The remaining amount is sitting in his account. No one moved. The silence that followed didn't feel shocked at first. It felt heavy, like the whole yard had dropped a few inches. Then Margaret spoke. Her voice carried cleanly across the space. I've watched that young woman maintain this house by herself for years. She paused. And they stuck her in the basement. That landed harder than anything I had said. Because it gave people a picture. Not just documents, not just numbers. A picture. Lauren turned slowly toward Ethan. Her face had gone completely pale. Tell me that's not true. He didn't answer, not immediately. He looked at the ground, then at my father, then back at her. It's complicated, he said finally. Her voice rose so fast it cut through the yard. No, it isn't. Every person there heard it. She took one step toward him, one hand on her stomach. Did you use stolen money to pay off your debt? He opened his mouth. Nothing came out. That was answer enough. My uncle stared at my father like he'd never seen him before. My aunt picked up the gift she had brought and held it against her side instead of setting it down. My grandmother was sitting near the far table, small and still in her chair, but when she spoke, everyone heard her. Tony, she said, I did not raise you to steal from your daughter. My father snapped, Mom, stay out of this. She didn't flinch. This is enough, she said. And something in him broke right there. Not dramatically, not with shouting. He just sat down, in the middle of his own event, in front of everyone, and said nothing. Lauren turned and went inside. The screen door slammed behind her. After that, people started leaving. Not all at once, one by one. Quietly. No speeches, no comforting lies, no pretending. Plates were thrown away half full, chairs scraped back. Gifts were picked up again. The party drained out of the yard like water through a crack. Within minutes, the whole thing looked abandoned. I stood there on the porch with the folder still in my hand, waiting for some rush of relief. It didn't come. What I felt instead was emptiness. Not regret, not pity. Just the strange, hollow feeling that comes after something rotted has finally been pulled out into the light. I walked back to my car and sat behind the wheel without starting it. From where I parked, I could see through the front window. My father was in the living room, motionless. My mother moved around the kitchen, wiping the same spot again and again. Upstairs, through the closed room that used to be mine, I could hear raised voices. Lauren's voice this time. Sharp, shaking. You told me it was a bonus. Then Ethan, muffled. Then Lauren again, louder. You lied to me. A car pulled up behind mine. I looked in the mirror and saw Uncle Victor getting out. He walked to my window and I rolled it down. For a second, he just stood there. Then he said, I should have listened to you. I nodded once. He gave a small, tired look toward the house, then back at me. I'm sorry. Thank you, I said. He left after that. No long speech, no excuse. Just an apology, clean and late. That night, my phone lit up with Lauren's name. I watched it ring once before answering. Her voice had changed. No attitude. No performance. No superiority. Just shock that had settled into something colder. I need the truth, she said. All of it. I stayed quiet for a second. She took a breath. Every dollar, every lie. Send me everything. I looked down at the folder beside me, at the pages that had already destroyed one version of that family. Then I said, all right, and I sent it. 15 minutes later, she called back. The first thing she said was not my name, it was this. He told me the car money came from work. I closed my eyes. I'm sorry, I said. There was a pause on the line. Then she said very quietly, I told you to leave your own house. That sentence sat between us for a moment. Not defensive, not performative, just ugly and true. I didn't know, she said. Tony told me it belonged to the family. He said it was passed down. It wasn't, I said. I bought it myself. Silence. Then, I owe you a real apology. I can't do that tonight, but I will. I didn't answer right away. Then she gave me one more piece, a new one. He also owes me money, she said. 7,000. I leaned back in my seat. Of course he did. Her next words came slower. I'm calling my mother tomorrow, she said. I'm not raising my baby inside this lie. When the call ended, I sat there in the dark with my phone in my hand. The yard was still half decorated. The balloons were still moving in the breeze. And inside that house, the collapse had only just begun. By the end of that week, everything started collapsing. Not loudly, not all at once, just piece by piece, like something that had been holding together for too long, finally giving out. Lauren left first. No announcement. No long message. She packed what she needed and went back to her mother's place. Ethan called her over and over. I heard later it was more than a dozen times in a single day. She didn't answer. By the third day, even the illusion was gone. No photos, no updates, no signs that anything was still intact. Just silence. Ethan didn't handle it well. Without Lauren, without the image of becoming a father in that house, he looked smaller, like something had been stripped away. He stopped pretending everything was fine, stopped posting, stopped talking. At one point, he was sleeping on a friend's couch. And for the first time in his life, my father turned on him. If you didn't mess up your finances, none of this would have happened, I heard him say. It was quiet, sharp, and late. My father changed, too. Not dramatically, but enough. He stopped going out, stopped answering calls. The same people he used to talk to every week stopped calling him. Or maybe they still did. He just didn't pick up anymore. Reputation doesn't disappear overnight, but once it cracks, it doesn't come back the same. My mother called me every day, same time, same tone. We can fix this. Each time, I gave her the same answer. There's nothing to fix. At first, she tried to sound hopeful, then emotional, then quiet. By the fourth call, she stopped trying to change my mind. She just listened. A few days before the deadline, the bank sent them a formal request. They had to come in person. That part mattered. Because for the first time, this wasn't just between us anymore. There were consequences they couldn't talk their way out of. The neighborhood knew too, not from gossip, from observation. Margaret didn't go around telling people stories. She didn't need to. When someone asked, she gave them one sentence. I watched that girl take care of that house by herself. That was enough. People connected the rest. At Ethan's workplace, it spread faster. 2 of his co-workers had been there that day. They saw everything, the documents, the silence. The moment he couldn't answer. On Monday, someone asked him directly, Was that your sister's house? He didn't respond, just asked for time off, and no one questioned it. Then the deadline came. No extensions, no negotiations, just a final notice. If they stayed, it would move to court. My father called me that afternoon. His voice was different this time. Not angry, not defensive. Empty. Where are we supposed to go? I had already looked into it. There are apartments on Elm Street, I said. You can afford them. Silence. Then, You're really not going to help us? I took a slow breath. I am helping you, I said. I'm telling you what your next step is. Another pause, longer. Then finally a quiet, almost unfamiliar word. Okay. That was it. No argument. No blame. Just acceptance. The next morning, my mother started packing, carefully, neatly, like she was trying to control something in a situation where she couldn't control anything else. My father didn't help. He sat in the same chair and watched. Ethan came back once, 2 boxes. No conversation. He didn't even look at me, just took what was his and left again. When they finally moved out, it was quick. No scene. No last-minute drama. My mother paused at the door before stepping outside. She looked back into the house for a second, then at me. She gave a small nod. Not forgiveness, not closure, just acknowledgement. Then she left. After that, everything became quiet. Legally, it moved forward. The bank completed their review. The loan was erased. Every trace of it. The lien disappeared. The credit reports were corrected. Everything went back to where it should have been. Even better, cleaner, like the damage had been undone on paper, but not everywhere. Rachel asked me one last question. Do you want to press charges? I didn't answer right away. I thought about courtrooms, time, dragging everything back out. I thought about what I had already taken back. The house, my name, my control. I'm done, I said. She nodded. That was enough. A few days later, I wrote them an email. Not emotional, not reactive, structured, clear. There were no accusations in it, no anger, just boundaries. I told them I wouldn't support them financially anymore, that any contact had conditions, that if those conditions were ignored, I would step back completely, and that any future relationship would depend on actions, not words. I read it over several times, removed anything that sounded like I was trying to hurt them, left only what protected me. Then I sent it. My father never replied. Not once. My mother responded 2 days later. Short message. I understand. I'm sorry. Ethan took longer. When he did, it was only a few words. I get it. I didn't try to interpret it. I didn't need to. For the first time in years, I wasn't waiting for them to change. I wasn't explaining myself. I wasn't holding anything together. I was just standing still. And that felt unfamiliar, but right. And that's when I realized something. The hardest part wasn't walking away. It was deciding not to go back. 3 months later, my phone lit up with a photo, a newborn. Wrapped in white, eyes closed, one tiny hand pressed against her cheek. Lily. I didn't expect it to hit me the way it did. Not anger, not sadness. Something softer, looser. Lauren's message came right after. I was wrong about everything. You don't owe me anything. But if you ever want to meet her, the door is open. I stared at that message for a long time. Then I typed back slowly. I'd like that, just not yet. A few weeks later, I met her. Not at my house. At a small coffee shop in town. Neutral, quiet, safe. Ethan was already there when I walked in. He didn't stand up right away, just nodded. No attitude, no excuses. He handed her to me without saying much, and for the first time, I saw him. Without the performance, just tired. I didn't ask questions. I didn't need answers. I held Lily for a few minutes, then gave her back. That was enough. 6 months after everything, I stood in front of my house again, key in hand. Same door, same lock, but it felt different. I stepped inside slowly. The air was quiet. Not heavy, not tense, just still. I repainted every room, not to erase anything, just to choose it this time. The basement was the last place I touched. New floor, dry walls, clean light. No more cold, no more damp, no more sleeping on something that wasn't meant for me. Margaret came by one afternoon with a small plant. She set it near the window and said, "Feels right now." I smiled. It does. At work, things moved forward. A promotion came through, more responsibility, more pay. But what mattered wasn't the title. It was the feeling that everything I was building finally belonged to me. My father calls once a month now. Short conversations, no demands, no pressure, just words. My mother sounds quieter, careful with what she says. Ethan shows up sometimes. Not often, but when he does, he doesn't argue. He listens, and that tells me more than anything he could say. I didn't lose a family. I let go of something that only looked like one, and in that space, something else started forming. Slower, smaller, but real. The house is quiet now, but it's a different kind of quiet. Not the kind where you feel invisible, the kind where you finally feel present. And if there's one thing I learned from all of this, it's simple. You can love people and still choose yourself. What would you have done in my place?